Hey guys, welcome and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to discuss about the spousal visa interview questions. The questions that will be asked at the spousal visa interview. So number one, you will be asked, what's your spouse name? So you need to know your spouse name. You need to know his name, his or her name, like he's so and so. You need to know that. So number two, where and when did you both meet? So you need to know where did you meet? Where did you guys meet? If you met online, if you met at a friend's party, if you met, if you were childhood friends, you need to know all that. So when you ask, you can say where and when did you meet. That's very, very important to know. You need to know exactly the place that you met and the time that you met. If it's on July 2019 or the time that you met, you need to know the exact time that you met. So make sure you say when exactly you met. Don't miss your words. Don't say something else, because these consulars, sometimes they know the information. So don't say something that is not correct. So how long have you been in contact with your spouse? So the consular wants to know how long you've been together. He wants to know how long you've been together with your spouse. So if you've been together for 5 years, say it. If you've been together for 4 years or for 8 years, just say it. So they just want to know how long you've been together. So what do you like? What do you both like to do for fun? What do you both like to do for fun? So the consular wants to know your interests together, the common interests that you have together. So if you like going out, swimming together, if you like traveling together, visiting new places, yeah, tell the consular that. If you like watching movies, documentaries, just say it. Just tell the consular that is what you like doing together. So another thing that the consular will ask is, what does your spouse do for a living? What does your spouse do for a living? So the consular wants to know, do you know what your spouse does in the States? If your spouse is a nurse, just say is a nurse. If the spouse is a doctor, say the doctor. If it's a teacher or an administrator or a project manager, just say that. Many a times they know, because on the financial documents your spouse indicates his career or his job. So just say the truth. Say what your spouse does, exactly what your spouse does. If he's an accountant, if he's a counselor, just say it. It's very, very important to say exactly what your spouse does. If your spouse is is an electrical engineer, is whatever your spouse does, just say it as it is, because it's very, very important to say exactly what your spouse does. So another thing that they'll ask, how has your spouse been married before? Has your spouse been married before? So they want to know if your spouse has been married before. Therefore, they want to know if he's been married before. They'll ask for divorce certificate. So if he's been married before, carry all the original divorce certificates, not copies, originals. They'll need them at the interview later. So if he's been married like 2 times, carry all the divorce certificates. 3 times, carry them. If it's once, carry that divorce certificate and make sure it's the original one. So if he has been married before, did he have kids? So if it's yes, they'll ask you more about the kids, like, could you tell us about your spouse kids? So if you know the age, what they do, if you know them, their names, just say Just say, because it's very, very important. So they can ask, what's your spouse parents' name? So it's very, very important to know what your spouse parents' name is. So from both the father and the mother. So it's very, very important that you know how many siblings does your spouse have. Yeah, how many siblings does your spouse have? It's very, very important you know how many siblings your spouse has. Yeah. Then they'll ask you, when and where did you get married? You know, where and when did you get married? So they want to know, is it an online marriage? Is it an AG marriage? Is it a Christian marriage? Were you married in church at the age, or where and when, the dates that you were married? Because they have your marriage certificate, so they want to confirm exactly if you're saying the truth. So they'll ask, where and when did you get married? So make sure you have all this information at your fingertips, because this information is about you. What I always say is that the interview is the simplest part of all the processes, because you know yourself better than the counselor. The counselor just looked at your documents. You know yourself better, and you know yourself and the spouse better than the counselor. So you'll just say exactly where and when you got married. So, and then the question they'll ask, how long has your spouse been staying in the US? How long? So they want to know if you know when your spouse went to the States. So they'll ask you, how long has your spouse been staying in the US? So it's very, very important to know when your spouse went to the US and how long has he been staying there. So they'll ask you another question, how did your spouse go to the US? How did your spouse go to the US? So you need to be sincere. If you went there as a student, if you went there, you know, as a worker, you know, you need to be very specific and to say the truth, because they have the records, and they know exactly how your spouse went there. So they'll ask you, how many times does your spouse visit you in a year? How many times does your spouse visit you in a year? So if your spouse comes to visit you like 3 times in a year, say that. If it's 2 times in a year, say that. If it's once in a year, say that. You know, just say how many times does your spouse visit you in a year. It's very, very important to know. So they'll ask you, how do you usually communicate with your spouse, and when last did you talk? So if you communicate through WhatsApp, say it. If it's through video calls, you know, say that. So how you communicate, and when last did you communicate? You can just say, this morning as I was coming to the interview, when he asked me if I've already set off to the interview. So that's a very good answer for that question, that when last did you speak. So yeah. So another question that they can ask is, how many have you ever been to the States before? Have you ever been to the States before? If you've ever been to the States, say yes. If you've never been to the States, say no. Another question that they'll ask is, have you ever applied for a visa interview? Have you ever applied for a visa interview? So it's very, very important to say, if you've ever applied for a visa interview, say yes. If it's a tourist visa, say yes. If it's a student visa, say yes. And they'll ask you, why were you given or were you denied? If you are denied, they'll ask you, what were the reason for the denial? So make sure you know why you are denied. If you don't know, just say, I don't know. I don't know why they denied me that visa. So They may ask, what is the name of your spouse, your ex-spouse? They may ask that.
Mommy.
So it's very, very important to know what the name of your spouse is. It's very, very important to know what the name of your spouse is. So it's very, very important that you know what the name of your spouse is. It's very, very important, you know. So they'll ask you,
Number 2, 3, 2, 1.
They'll ask you, when last did your spouse gift you and what did he gift you? So they'll want to know if you've ever been gifted. So if your spouse gave you a watch or something good, something like flowers, so you can see that. Very, very important to have that information. So those are some of the questions that they ask at the spousal visa interview. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for clicking. Make sure you comment down below, make sure you subscribe, and see you in the next video. Thank you.